Hello, this is Mark on December 11th, Sunday, 2011. I think I'll call this the Atheist Gambit. Gambit has to do with an opening for an advantage in chess and in the derivation of the word, because I just looked it up. Gambit has to do with the idea of an advantage, and in chess it's the idea of a strategic advantage, since chess is strategic. One of the things that an atheist thinks is that evolution is true. The Christians have their creation story, and the hypocrites have their creation story, as far as the hypocritical Christians and the people that claim to be Christians. And I got an answer that was similar to this when it came to the issue of God with my father, with my dad. And an atheist will say that they believe in logic, and they may even say that there might not be a God. But in practice, the attitude is that there isn't a God. But an atheist will say that they believe that evolution, or they think, or they know that evolution is correct. What is the basis for an atheist, saying that evolution is correct? And the idea, well, is this established science? And you say, well, will you prove it to me? And I asked someone somebody told me, he said, ask someone that's a professor. So I asked someone that's a professor, I said, will you prove atheism, or will you prove evolution to me? And he said, I've given up on that. He said, when I tried to, and this is the way it really works. I think this is the way it really works. It comes down to what people accept for their doctrine, and what they accept for their tenets in their life, rather than what is true, even if they don't even believe it. But this biology teacher who taught evolution said, what you really have to do is to take one of my courses. He said, when I try to prove evolution to somebody, usually it has to do with somebody who won't believe it. And he said, it makes no difference what I say. They won't believe that evolution is true. He said, usually it's someone that will not believe evolution no matter what I say. So then the question is, does the reverse also happen? If you have an evolutionist, if you try to convince them of God, or if you have an evolutionist, or if you have an atheist, and you try to convince them of God, they won't accept any argument that you have to say. And that's what you have on YouTube, with the idea of evolution and Christianity and atheism. If you say, well, explain to me, how is evolution proven? And and it's, as I've said, you can't find it on YouTube. And even to be looking at the other side, if you say, well, what's the proof of Christianity? And I don't think you can really find that necessarily on YouTube either, the proof of Christianity. And there's this idea, evolution is established science, and that is a building block for atheism. If you don't have evolution, then it looks like things might have been created according to God. You have to have some way, some explanation with all this supposed knowledge in science. You have to have some explanation how we all got here. Otherwise, people look like well, it could have been God. In order to deny God, what you have is someone says that, well, it's evolution, and you say, well, prove evolution to me, and they say it's established science. Well, then the alternative is also possible, where someone says, prove to me Christianity. How can you prove to me Christianity? And the Bible says Jesus said he was the way, the truth, and the life. And you have an establishment that says Christianity is true. So whereas you say you say evolution is established science, what you could say is, Christianity is established truth. And you say, well, it's not established as true. And someone could say, well, look at all the churches around. Do you think all these churches are wrong? And they say, well, these people, they don't know what they're talking about. And you could say, well, what about the scientists? Do they know what they're talking about? And they say, well, evolution is science, and science is true. Science is reality, science is true. We say, well, do you think there are all these churches around here, and all of them just so happened to all agree that Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life? Which also goes in the creation story, because Jesus mentioned Genesis and God's creation of Adam and Eve. So whereas you say evolution is established science, anybody that has intelligence believes in evolution. Well, there's a much greater population that say that they believe that Christianity, that they are Christians, and that supposedly say that they agree with what Jesus said, and Jesus referred back to creation, so that there's a greater establishment that denies evolution. And it is an establishment, you have the establishment of science, supposedly the establishment of science. You also have this, but supposedly the establishment of truth. And someone would say, well, science is based on observation and logic. And you could say, well, people have proven God and all this stuff, and people refuse to accept it. And they say, well, where have they proven God? And so the answer to that, the simple answer is, well, where have they proven evolution? And so, well, evolution is established. And you say, well, Christianity is established. And so the solution becomes a gambit, like a gambit in chess, where if you are willing to give up evolution, then you can give up Christianity, because both of them are supposed to be true. Both of them, science means knowledge. Both of them are supposed to be based in knowledge, and yet they deny one another. So the idea is, if you go for the idea that evolution is established in a building block of atheism, then you have to go for the fact that Christianity is established too. And that has to be true. When you say that when you say that Christianity, when it includes the book of Genesis, denies evolution, and evolution is established, you have to give the other side of the coin, that Christianity is also established, and that Genesis is also established for Christians and Jews. And not only that, there are the Muslims that supposedly say that God created the world. So you have an establishment of God that is hundreds, I guess thousands of years older than evolution ever was. But with evolution, you have this idea, and I'll agree it's the same with Christianity. You would say, well, just say to a Christian, how do you prove your belief? And I think, or how do you prove your supposed belief? How do you prove your tenets? And the Christian, I think, would have to say, and I think there's an answer to this. As a Christian, I would say there's an answer to this. But the average Christian will say, well, I don't have any proof. I have faith. And the reverse is also true. Someone would say, well, how do you prove your evolution? And the answer would be, well, I don't have to prove my evolution. It's established. Just like Christianity is established. Just like Islam is established. Just like all these different world religions are established. I don't have to establish that. And God has been established even before Christianity for thousands of years. Also, you have the idea, when you talk about atheism, and you say, well, and someone says, well, how did everything get here? And the idea is you have to, if you're not willing to go by evolution, and you're not willing to go by anything that you cannot personally prove yourself, then you have to say, well, there was matter. You have to go with an idea rather than a proof. That there was supposedly matter. Even these theories about how matter got here, about this explosion, if you cannot prove it, then it's the same thing as Christianity. What atheists and evolutionists go by, and typically atheists are evolutionists, they go by the idea that something is established. Well, that is the supposed Christian argument, that that this is established. That's the supposed Christian argument. This religion is established. This belief is established. This fact is established. And in Christianity, and supposedly evolution, this truth is established. Well, if you say, that there was matter at the beginning, and there was an explosion, and this matter was always there, well, then the question is, how do we get to this? If you have eternity past before, in which matter has always existed, then all of what would have happened, the explosion of the matter and all that stuff, would have already happened eternity past. So then there would be nothing left to happen now. There would be no sun to shine, because the sun would have burned up all its energy, that all the energy would be burnt up. Then you have to explain, you also would have to say, well, the orders were the order of the universe and the order of Earth, the how chemicals respond and all that stuff just happened to be here. When you realize, when you realize that you're going on belief, then you have to acknowledge that Christianity as a belief is valid too. When you realize that you're assuming order, then an assumed God is also a reasonable thing to do. When you realize that you have order that must have come from somewhere. If you have, it's like I explained to one atheist, and I try to avoid a lot of things with atheists, but if you have matter that was always there, and the matter, created itself, that it was self-existent. You're talking about matter that created itself from eternity. You're talking about God. that matter would be God. Anyway, when you start getting into beliefs, and you say, well, I don't want to go to science because that's already established. Then you can say, I don't want to go to Christianity because I don't want to explain Christianity because you don't want to explain your science. And if you cannot explain your science, then don't get upset when someone cannot explain Christianity. And if you have these laws and these principles that always existed, you have the concept that there was an eternal or godlike thing to it. So in order to accept evolution, in order to accept some atheistic beginning of the world and all that, you have to grant, in order to gain an advantage, you have to grant a theist or grant a Christian credence, just like you grant yourself credence for your own beliefs. And this might make some atheists mad, but it really comes down to declaring truth rather than declaring preference. Order declares that there's a God. And I've tried to make a commitment to make my videos shorter, so I'll probably keep it about like this. The order declares that there's a God. If you have rules, there must have been someone that made the rules. It's like saying something is illegal when there are no cops and no judges and no laws. You have, just like somebody would say in actual science, and I do think that science is valid. I think that people that study science are smart. But I don't think that there's always proof for what is called science, and it's expected to be accepted based on what it is called rather than what it is. But when you have these orders and you say, well, that's a violation of a physical order, that's a violation of physics, that's a violation of chemistry, or this is how chemistry and how physics work, you're saying that there is someone that established an order. Otherwise, the only other explanation would be that there would be an order without someone establishing it, which is an interesting thought. Have a good day.